Alright, I am back with a JJK video this time. And guess what? My timing is, as usual, pretty on point. Because I'm like 5 chapter, like the last chapter I did was I think 261. And now it's 266. So like I'm going to review 5 chapters. And it turns out JJK is going to end in 5 chapters, you know? So I'm giving you a 5 chapter review. Then we'll get 5 chapters at the end of JJK. So it's like a win-win for everybody, you know what I mean? Like, I'm catching up at the same time y'all gonna like end with the 5 chapters too. So it's like the universe working in my favor, you know what I mean? So here we go with I'll say like an overall review, just talking about like my thoughts about like what's been going on. But I won't be like chapter this, chapter that, chapter this. I'm kind of just gonna be like talking about it as a whole, not like as chapter by chapter. So as a whole, everything that's been going on in JJK so far has been pretty okay. I like kind of what they're going with the direction, or Gege first thing. I will say, the 262. So like the 261, I guess I'm probably am going to do like chapter by chapter, kind of. So like 261, the last chapter that I reviewed, that was like, you know, Yuta got Gojo's body. Then 262, Yuta was in Gojo's body, kind of throwing hands, but then like he folded in the end, like he shot off a hollow purple, barely did damage to Sukuna. Then like he ended up, you know, getting knocked out because like it turned out his technique with Kanjaku had a certain time limit. It ran out, so now Yudo's just gone in the midst, you know, useless. Which is unfortunate, but then like again, kind of makes sense for like what Gege was doing with that narrative. There we go. I had to adjust my arms, getting toasty. It sounds like blocking, kind of. Like I use my blinds to angle it. Like you can see like it's like a red or a rectangle in my shirt. Like some of the lines, like that's just the lighting. I try my best to adjust it, but it is what it is. That's got off track. So like with that whole arc right there, which kind of showed like how like Yuta thought becoming Gojo was the answer, but like Yuta kind of so point what Gojo wanted, which was him finding people working together and not being alone, being the strongest. And Yuta just only saw Gojo as the strongest. So that's why, you know, Yuta, you know, dying like that. It's kind of like, you know, full circle saying, hey, you weren't supposed to do this. You're supposed to work with Yuji as a team, as a unit by yourself, because being the strongest is a lonely thing. Yada, yada, yada. Y'all get that narrative. So now we move on to like, you know, Yuji and Todo back in business doing hands, per usual. That was pretty dope. And then like, you know, they set it up for the Jacob's ladder. And then what's kind of funny was like then Sukuna ended up jumping up through Jacob's ladder. And they explained that they said it was like a weaker Jacob's ladder than the last time they used it. That's why it was possible. Sukuna ended up knocking out her and Todo. Then we get to Yuji throwing hands with Sukuna again. And then at the same time, Sukuna gets his curse technique back because he threw like a couple black flashes. That's how it goes, apparently. Y'all showed that with Gojo too, so that's just how it is. So at that point, you know, Sukuna's just trying to avoid Yuji hitting him with his dismantle. He's like his Yuji's dismantle specifically like attacks the barrier between his soul and Megumi's. So like as long as I avoid his hits, then I'll be straight. Then he usually pulls out his domain expansion, and obviously, as we know, like domain expansion, that's like a sure hit way to have your technique hit somebody, you know. And then we get to the interesting chapter, I should say, in which Yuji's domain is kind of like this, you know, city almost like of his memories, and like it's just him and Sukuna talking. I kind of like this. I kind of like the idea of like him and Sukuna talking, because it kind of goes back to what I said like I think I said this a while ago. I hope I did on camera. How like JJK is kind of like Gege's version of like what he wanted Naruto to kind of be like. Like I was listening inspiration from Naruto and other animes, but like he kind of takes inspiration from Naruto. Like, hey, this is like I said, with like his version of Gojo being like the version of Kakashi you want to wear. Kakashi's like, you know, the strongest ninja or whatever, and then Gojo's like the strong sensei. You know what I mean? Then like the demon inside of Yuji being like actually just a bad person, no redeemable qualities, and like the goal is to beat the demon. While Naruto, like the goal is like, you know, what's what I'm looking for? Befriend the demon, because the demon has like its own hardships when I try to understand it. You know what I mean? So then at this point, this is like Gege's version, like the Naruto's talking no jutsu. You know what I mean? Like he's going to now tried to like, you know, appeal to Sukuna, like try to understand him, or have Sukuna understand him. Like the whole point of it was, so I got a notification on my screen, my bad. The whole point of the conversation was to be like, hey, Like you see us as set tools, but we're not actually set tools, and that's like a wrong perspective to have. We're all just our own beings. You gotta respect that, you know. Then again, it goes back to Sukuna saying he understands what Yuji's trying to say. He just doesn't care, you know. Like he just doesn't care about that. He's just trying to do his own thing. So at that point, he just says, "All right, I guess." The point was Yuji wanted to at least try to appeal to Sukuna, because it turns out like Yuji had pity on Sukuna, because Sukuna can understand that feeling of having, you know, empathy towards someone else, like that certain feeling, you know what I mean, towards someone else, another human being, like having that connection, you know. So Sukuna's obviously like enraged by that. Then the next chapter is just them throwing hands, and then like Yuji breaking down Sukuna's, you know, Whitaker basket, which protects from the domain. Then the chapter ends on Sukuna getting ready for his domain expansion. Then like a finger on the screen, like one of Sukuna's fingers, and a spiral too. I'm looking at the thing right now, just double check. It's multitasking. So yeah, that's how the chapter ended. And I kind of like what Gege's doing at this point. You know, I feel like he is kind of rushing a bit. There's a couple more things that need to be, you know, I want to say fleshed out. Like for example, Hikari, Hikari has been fighting Urahime for like the past a lot of chapters. I don't know how many, but it's been a couple of chapters. He's been fighting him in the background. We don't know how that's going. But at this point, we can all just figure like Hikari and Urahime are like relative to each other. Like they are just neck and neck. Like either it's either like a tie or something. You know what I mean? I feel like Hikari technique is very good at like sawing people off, and like just, you know, getting a stalemate. I think that's what's gonna happen, like a stalemate with Hikari and Urahime. But yeah, I really like how with this chapter is just, you know, Yuji finally had like a chance to have like a one-on-one Sukuna, like kind of a heart-to-heart to try to get to him. It didn't work obviously, but like I feel like Yuji like at least attempting to do that, and then try and make a deal with Sukuna saying, hey, if you give me back Megan's body, I'll spare your life. Because Yuji believes that like with his technique he's going to kill Sukuna. So I did like that. That was kind of like a cool bar from Yuji. I feel like overall Yuji, as the anime or manga goes on, the more I like Yuji. I feel like Yuji was kind of like a okay character. Like the more the anime, even manga too, goes on, like the more I'm starting to understand like what his character means, like his growth as a person, like him figuring out what it means to balance that line between being like a selfish person and a selfless person, and like finding like that like in between barrier where you could like be that person that needs to be selfish at the same time, but also be selfless, you know, when it comes to like protecting his friends and like his morals and values, you know. So I feel like the writing for Yuji is pretty solid, and I think Gege is going to probably end it on a decent note. Now there are memes going around saying there might be like a Shippuden version of JJK, which that might be silly, but it could work. I don't know how they can do it, but like Gege could make it work or something like that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But overall, these past 5 chapters, I liked them back to back to back. Just overall, like I feel like just consistently has been a very good thing. There's been breaks, obviously, but I, you know, read them just like together, you know, because I didn't take a break with JJK. It's just that it's been like, I know it's like always a weekly break, so I just took like a couple weeks off so that I could just, you know, binge a couple chapters, you know. And now I gotta wait for these next 5 chapters for the manga to end, and we'll see how well he ends it, because I feel like I said earlier, there's like a lot of content I feel like that needs to just be addressed. I don't know if he could do it in 5 chapters. I'm just going to make these like very long, heavy chapters. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, JJK, pretty solid new gen anime. I think, is it still considered new gen? I think so, like new gen for me, I guess. But yeah, overall, good 5 chapters. Can't wait to see how it ends. And that's my thoughts, review, talk about JJK in these past 5 chapters. Till next time, guys.